Good day traders, compliments of the season to all of you and welcome back to our RMDTRADER weekly market fix. We trust all of you had a joyful festive season and are well rested and ready for a new year full of opportunities. So jumping right into this year, let's have a look at what happened to Bitcoin over the holidays. We can see that we have since seen some strong rejection from our daily 200 moving average, as well as that yearly 365 daily moving average, which we've pointed out throughout of last year as an important level to keep an eye out for. So that has now been rejected, and also plotting the new yearly pivot, so we can see that we are now trading below the yearly pivot. So that of course is very bearish in terms of the trend for Bitcoin. At this stage, there is a chance for a pullback and a retest of this level. So as you know, with each and every break, you typically have a retest of that breakout level. So that means there's a chance that we see price pulling back into this area at about 46 to about 48, where we could see a retest. But from there, it's possible that we will see continuation of this bearish trend with our first strong support still below us at about 38,000. And way down at 26,000, we have the new yearly S1 pivot along with some major diagonal support. So all of that is potential areas for Bitcoin to test this year. We can also see that we have what appears to be this head and shoulders that is forming. So should this then play out, of course, that means we will be expecting more targets to the downside as the year is progressing. Having a look at what is happening with gold. Gold has been consolidating for most of last year, actually, with the year ending not too far away from where the year started. If we look at this level around 1,800. Currently, we can see we have our new yearly pivot at about 1,820. This level has technically been rejected right at the beginning of the year. So for now, we are still looking for some support. We have some major diagonal support, as you can see in this purple diagonal line. And that level probably will see us considering this 1,765 level. So as prices are moving into this level, we should start seeing some buyers stepping in should we move into this area. In terms of resistance, we would first need to clear all of these moving averages, which is currently very much all jumbled up around the current level. Our new current weekly and monthly pivots all converging on this 1,800 level. So definitely a key area still above us. So I suspect we need to get past this level and then past this yearly pivot at 1,825 to see more upside, with the upside targets currently sitting at this area at 1,850. So still a very likely target considering this as a metrical triangle consolidation. So our areas of support and resistance is defined by this diagonal levels of support and resistance. Looking at our indices and looking at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has had this head and shoulders pattern that we've previously identified. It initially came short of reaching the full target, which was at 15,200, even taking out that right shoulder, which typically means invalidation of head and shoulders. But we can see that since then we have seen some strong rejection once again, with rejection also from the new monthly pivot and the next level of support from this diagonal, pretty much still a little bit below us at 15,400. So for this week especially, I'd have a look at a possible continuation of the momentum to the downside with the yearly pivot at 15,000 and what's that, 15,100. So yeah, definitely having a look at that area as a possible area for a test. That's also where we'll have our daily 200 SMA. So from there, possible pullback, and then if we once again reject this area where we have our daily 100 SMA, that could be very bearish, of course, for this index and for this chart, and that could mean we would be initiating a possible new bearish trend. So let's just have a look and see how that starts to play out. Moving over to our currencies, looking at the USDJPY. The USDJPY has been in a steady uptrend over the past few weeks. I'm still expecting a little bit of upside, and just judging by this diagonal level of resistance and our new monthly R2, which is at 116.98, or rather, let's just round that up to about 116. 117. I said 117 would be a good area of resistance for the next week or two. Of course, as long as we are below this level of our weekly pivot, that could mean that you'll first see perhaps a bit more downside, perhaps a pullback towards our monthly pivot. The monthly pivot sitting at 114.3. So I'll perhaps wait for this pullback to get a better risk-reward entry into a continuation to the upside. Looking at the GBPCAD, this is one I've identified just due to the fact that I'm currently seeing some strong rejection from the new yearly pivot, which we have at 1.172. And should this continue, and should we see price continue to move lower below our daily 200 moving average, there's a good chance that we will see price moving way down, firstly, of course, to this area of our monthly pivot, which should offer some interim support at 1.70. And then perhaps if that's also getting rejected, there's some support from our current monthly S1 at 1.673. In terms of resistance, there should also be resistance in this area where we have our monthly R1 at 1.738. Looking at the AUDUSD, AUDUSD is one of our previous setups that we've had identified. This one is probably still playing out, and you can see we've had a breach of this diagonal support. We're currently trading right below our monthly pivot at 0.718, and I suspect a brief test of the new weekly pivot at 0.719 might be on the cards, but from there I'm still expecting some continuation to the downside with the target area, our yearly R1 pivot at 0.683. That's still quite a ways down and could only play out over the next few weeks, but this is what I am currently considering. GBPNZD. The GBPNZD has actually surprised me. I was actually more inclined to think that we would see bearish continuation to the downside, but instead we rather saw this very aggressive momentum to the upside, even taking out these previous two highs. So what this is actually just affording us is a possible high reward to risk opportunity. So at this point, we need to have a look at possible reversal signals. There is still a chance to hit slightly higher, perhaps to the weekly R1 and this overhead diagonal resistance that's sitting at 2.01. But any strong reversal from here, and especially if we start to break below our weekly pivot and monthly R1, which is at 1.99, that would be very bearish, and of course, very, very high probability to be heading to this yearly pivot, which is at 1.948. So this is something I'll definitely have a look at in the week, and let you guys know if there's any setups that we could potentially get on board with. Moving on to the EURGBP, apologies. So the EURGBP, I have shamefully been trying to call the bottom on this one for quite some time, and so far not very successful. I still suspect that we are looking for some upside, especially considering our new yearly pivot being now at 0.862. So that is a target that I am keeping in mind. But let's first see whether we can get a better base and a better reversal from this area before we jump into this trade. But this trade continues to offer a very good reward to risk opportunity. Looking at the GBPUSD, the GBPUSD is still in a bearish trend, currently facing a resistance from we are trading above the daily 100 SMA, but we can see we have our yearly pivot and weekly R1 pivots at this 1.363 level. 1.364. So from this area, I suspect there will be resistance and possible rejection, and we still have this target all the way down at 1.288, which I'd like to see fulfilled. But yeah, again, best to wait for a reversal, and then once we get below the weekly pivot, that would perhaps give us a signal and a trigger to get on board this bearish continuation. Very similar thing that we are seeing on the Euro USD. Also still expecting a move lower towards this area of our double top, which gave us a target at 1.114. That's as close to our monthly S2 as well. We have been consolidating now for more than a month, and yeah, price is definitely struggling to break higher, but once it breaks back below, I'd say at least this let's just say rather the weekly S1, which is also that diagonal support at 1.29. So once we break below that, I think that would be the trigger to get into a trade towards this area at 1.114. Concluding by looking at the USDZAR. The USDZAR overall, I remain bullish, and that means I'm looking for this inverted head and shoulders to continue to play out towards this target area at 1730. We can also see we have our our new yearly pivot at 1521. So that will definitely be somewhat of a magnetic pull towards this area, because that's also converging with the headline of the inverted head and shoulders and the daily one of the SMA, and then we also have this double top. So at this point, I think there is a good chance we see the rand strengthening to 15.23 against the dollar, but from this area, of course, I'm looking for a reversal back in the direction of this head and shoulders to target those areas up at the 17 rand to a dollar level. That concludes our market analysis for this week. That concludes our first market fix for 2022. We trust you enjoyed it, and please remember to tune in again next week. Until next time, we wish you all the best of your trading, and remember, trade smart and trade successful.